The ESPYs were underway, spotlights beaming, celebrities draped in designer fits, cameras flashing. It was the NFL's unofficial offseason prom night, and everyone who was anyone was there, except Shedeur Sanders. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. While the sports world gathered in Hollywood to celebrate itself, Sanders was nearly 2,500 miles away in Cleveland, walking through a neighborhood still reeling from the smoke and rubble of tragedy. That decision, it didn't go unnoticed. It didn't go uncriticized, either. Because when a rookie quarterback, especially one with famous bloodlines, skips a primetime photo op to throw footballs with kids on a sun-drenched sidewalk in a grieving community, people start asking questions. Why wasn't he in L.A.? Is he trying to make a statement? Does he even care about building his brand? But Shedeur wasn't interested in any of that. He was too busy organizing bounce houses, handing out hot dogs, and dancing with grandmothers at the Garden Valley Fun Fest, a healing event he helped create for a Cleveland neighborhood devastated by a deadly apartment explosion. Let that sink in. In an era where every athlete move is optimized for optics, Sanders deliberately chose the option with 0 cameras, 0 stylists, and 0 brand sponsors. Just people, just pain, just presence. And for some, that made him a threat. Because Shedeur didn't do the expected thing. He didn't pose in front of charity backdrop or deliver a soundbite over canned applause. He showed up without fanfare. He didn't just write a check. He brought his full self, sleeves rolled up and heart wide open. And he did it knowing that people would call it a PR stunt anyway. But if this was about attention, he picked the wrong platform. There were no national headlines, no viral videos, no branded content. Just nearly 1,000 residents of the Garden Valley housing community, still breathing the trauma of what they'd lived through, gathering for a day of joy that no one else was offering. This wasn't Shedeur trying to go viral. This was Shedeur stepping into the role of leader and doing it in silence. And that silence spoke volumes. The NFL is full of players who talk about giving back. But there's a difference between charity and solidarity. Charity is safe. It's distant. It's a donation, and photo op solidarity means being there, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. And Shedeur Sanders chose the uncomfortable. Think about how easy it would have been to justify going to the ESPYs. He could have networked, boosted his public profile, sat in the crowd while his peers won awards, smiled for the cameras. No one would have blamed him. But instead, he stood in the middle of Garden Valley, surrounded by families who had just lost everything, and said, "I'm not here because it looks good. I'm here because it's right." That kind of decision, that's not coached. That's not publicist approved. That's character. And still, the criticisms came. He's just doing this because he didn't get invited on stage. He's distracting from football. If he cared so much, why not stay behind the scenes? But here's the thing. When you're young, black, and gifted, and your father is one of the most famous personalities in sports, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You get scrutiny. Every move is dissected. Every act of compassion is questioned. Every deviation from the expected path is treated like rebellion. So when Shedeur rejected the glitz of the ESPYs for the grit of community healing, it wasn't just inconvenient. It was radical. It challenged the unspoken rules of the game. Because this wasn't about sports. It was about who gets seen, who gets supported, and who gets forgotten. And Shedeur refused to let the Garden Valley residents be forgotten. That's not just leadership. That's a philosophy. It's a deliberate choice to say, my legacy will not be measured in passing yards alone. It will be measured by presence, by people, by purpose. And that's what makes Shedeur Sanders such a compelling figure. Not because he's flashy like his father, but because he's not. He's building a different legacy. One that doesn't rely on gold chains or catchphrases. One that values consistency over charisma, substance over spectacle. He's not chasing the spotlight. He's chasing meaning. And his approach to his NFL career mirrors that. Patience, discipline, willingness to learn. He's not clamoring for headlines. He's watching. He's absorbing. He's throwing balls in the rain at midnight, while everyone else is curating content for Instagram. Because Shedeur doesn't need validation from ESPN. He's playing a longer game. And part of that game is understanding that the most important leadership moments don't happen under stadium lights. They happen in quiet spaces, in broken neighborhoods, in the aftermath of tragedy. That's where real character gets revealed. What makes this story even more powerful is that Shedeur knew he'd be misunderstood. He did it anyway, because true leadership means doing what's right, even when it costs you. And it did cost him. He missed out on media exposure, on potential sponsorship moments, on handshakes with executives and social currency in the celebrity world. He chose heartbreak over Hollywood. And in doing so, he drew a line between the athlete the world wants him to be and the man he's actually becoming. You can call it a rookie decision, but maybe it's a kind of rookie decision the NFL needs more of. We talk so much about legacy in sports, but legacy isn't just trophies and accolades. It's the echo of your values in the lives you touch. It's the faces that light up when you walk into a room, not because of who you are, but because you showed up when no one else did. And Shedeur Sanders showed up, not for a camera, not for a headline, not even for his own image. He showed up because his conscience told him to. And that's a kind of greatness that no award show can manufacture. So as he gears up for his first NFL season, surrounded by doubters and naysayers, remember this. He's not just training to be a quarterback. He's training to be a leader who knows how to serve. A man who understands that the game doesn't stop when the whistle blows. And if that costs him some spotlight time in the short term, so be it. Because legacy, the real kind, isn't built in front of cameras. It's built in the quiet moments, in the ashes of tragedy, in the streets of Cleveland, in the hearts of people who needed someone to just show up. And Shedeur Sanders did. And as word continues to spread about Shedeur Sanders' choice to stay grounded in Cleveland instead of heading to Hollywood, the story takes on a life bigger than football. It becomes a question of value. What do we actually reward in athletes? Is it stats and endorsements, or is it substance and sacrifice? For Shedeur, the answer was never in doubt. He didn't need the ESPYs to validate his worth. Instead, he found validation in the eyes of a child who had lost their home, in the hug of a grandmother who couldn't believe a professional athlete would dance with her in the middle of a burned-out neighborhood. That kind of presence is transformative. It doesn't get you trophies, but it gets you something deeper, trust, and trust is rare in sports. So much of the modern athletic experience is transactional. Fans support players so long as they perform. Teams promote community service only when the cameras are rolling. Sponsors sign deals based on image, not integrity. But what Shedeur did broke that mold. It wasn't calculated. It wasn't branded. It was real. And that authenticity is why his presence resonated so strongly in Garden Valley. People know when they're being sold something, and they also know when someone is being genuine. For a rookie in the NFL to understand that, to embody that so early in his career, is something special. It speaks to how Shedeur was raised. It speaks to the influence of Deion Sanders, yes, but it also speaks to the contrast. Where Deion was magnetic and larger than life, Shedeur is introspective and intentional. He's not chasing the spotlight. He's carving a new lane entirely. And in doing so, he's setting a new standard. Because here's the truth. Most rookies would have gone to the ESPYs. They would have taken a free suit, walked the red carpet, smiled for the cameras, and posted a few cryptic quotes about keeping the main thing. No one would have blamed them. In fact, most would have applauded it. But not Shedeur. He saw something more important. And he acted. Let's be clear. That kind of decision isn't just rare, it's risky. When you're fighting for a roster spot, perception matters. The NFL is a business, and businesses like predictable behavior. Players are expected to follow the script, grind, stay silent, and promote the brand. But Shedeur rewrote the script. And now, even coaches and executives are starting to take notice. Because when you show up for your community, it shows your team that you're someone they can rely on. When you organize an event in a neighborhood still smoldering from tragedy, it tells people that you care about more than yourself, that you're not just playing for contracts or clicks. You're playing for something greater, and it's already having an impact. Veterans in the Browns' locker room have reportedly spoken highly of Shedeur's maturity. They see how he prepares, how he watches film, how he handles himself under pressure. But more than that, they see how he treats people. And in a league where egos run rampant, that humility stands out. One coach was overheard saying, "He's not trying to be the man, he's trying to do things the right way." That matters, because when the games begin and the noise ramps up, every team looks for a steady hand. And Shedeur's calm, collected demeanor, the same one that brought him to Garden Valley instead of the red carpet, is the kind of presence that keeps teams focused when things get chaotic. And let's not forget the long-term impact. Kids who saw Shedeur that day won't remember who won Best Male Athlete at the ESPYs. They'll remember the quarterback who came to their neighborhood, tossed footballs, and treated them like family. They'll remember how he laughed, how he listened, how he made them feel seen in a moment when the world had turned away. That kind of memory shapes futures. It tells those kids that they matter, that athletes care, that someone who made it to the top didn't forget where they came from. And for a city like Cleveland, which is known more than its share of heartbreak, that matters. It's also a blueprint, because Shedeur isn't just paving a path for himself. He's creating a model for how young athletes can use their influence responsibly. He's showing that community service isn't a side project. It's part of the job, that it's not enough to donate money. You have to donate yourself. In a league that increasingly commodifies its stars, Shedeur is reminding everyone that the most powerful thing a player can do is be present. And presence is exactly what the NFL needs more of. So as the season approaches and the cameras return, don't be surprised if Shedeur's name starts rising. Not just because of what he does on the field, but because of who he's proving himself to be off of it. Because at the end of the day, leadership isn't about speeches or stats. It's about choices. And Shedeur Sanders is making all the right ones. What makes Shedeur Sanders' journey so compelling isn't just his on-field potential. Though let's be honest, that alone would make headlines. It's the why behind everything he does. The intentionality. The stillness in a league built on noise. He's not chasing moments to go viral. He's building something quieter, stronger, and ultimately more lasting. Because here's the truth few want to admit. Presence is rare in modern sports. Not physical presence. Every athlete has that. But emotional presence. The kind where you look someone in the eye and actually see them. Where you step into a space not to be celebrated, but to be of service. That's the kind of presence Shedeur brought to Garden Valley. And that presence has ripple effects. It doesn't just make an impact on the community. It challenges the people around him. In locker rooms, in front offices, among teammates who might have never thought to show up like that until they saw him do it first. Leadership, after all, is contagious. When you see someone your age, a rookie no less, acting with that level of purpose, it forces you to rethink your own standards. You start asking, what am I doing with my platform? What kind of legacy am I building? And that's the shift we're seeing around Shedeur. It's not that he's trying to lead with his voice. He's leading by example, which is 10 times more powerful, especially in a league that's still learning how to balance performance with humanity. He's proving that you can do both, that you can take football seriously while still caring about the people in your city, that you can learn from legends without copying them, that you can forge your own identity without burning down the one that came before you. And let's be real, he could have easily ridden his father's coattails. He could have parroted Prime Time's flash, capitalized on the Sanders brand, and leaned into the hype machine. But he didn't. He's doing it differently, quieter, with more introspection. And in the long run, that might be the most disruptive thing of all, because the NFL isn't used to this kind of rookie. They're used to media-trained sound bites, Instagram-curated humility, carefully crafted brands. Shedeur doesn't fit that mold. He's thoughtful but unscripted, confident but not cocky. And when he speaks, he does so like someone who's not interested in applause, just in getting it right. That's why the media doesn't quite know what to do with him. He's not giving them the drama they're used to. No ego-driven quotes. No flashy controversies. No locker room distractions. Just a kid from Colorado by way of Jackson State who wants to play ball, take care of his people, and do things his own way. And while that might frustrate the headline hunters now, It's going to age beautifully because eventually people catch on. They start to notice who's consistent, who's real, who's actually about it. And the story that started with rookie SKIPS ESPYs will evolve into leader sets new standard for athlete impact. That evolution is already happening inside the Browns organization. Coaches are watching how he practices, how he stays late, how he asks questions in meetings. He's not trying to jump the line or prove he's the smartest guy in the room. He's trying to get better, day by day, rep by rep. Even veterans who were skeptical at first are starting to nod in approval because football is a sport that respects grinders. If you show up, work hard, and keep your head down, the game rewards you. And Shedeur is doing exactly that, with one major difference. He's also looking up, looking around, seeing where he's needed outside the facility and showing up there too. And for a franchise like the Browns, who have more than their fair share of quarterback drama, PR disasters, and off-field letdowns, that kind of maturity is priceless. It stabilizes the locker room. It shifts the energy. It sends a message that this rookie isn't just here to play. He's here to build something, not just for himself, but for Cleveland, which brings us to the city itself. Cleveland isn't an easy place to win over. It's proud. It's been burned. It has trust issues, and understandably so. But what Cleveland respects more than anything is authenticity, grit, loyalty. Show up, and don't pretend to be someone you're not. That's the blueprint. That's how you earn the city's love. And Shedeur's already doing it. Not with highlight reels, but with presence. Not with promises, but with action. And that action is resonating far beyond Rainbow Terrace. It's being felt by fans who've seen too many players treat Cleveland like a layover. It's being felt by youth football coaches who now have a new role model to point to. It's being felt by teammates who see that leadership doesn't have to come with bravado. Because for every pass Shedeur throws, there's another gesture he makes off the field that's just as meaningful. And it's that balance of being a competitor and a caretaker that's becoming his signature. He's redefining what it means to be a rookie quarterback, not just in terms of playbook mastery or pre-snap reads, but in terms of emotional intelligence, situational awareness, community consciousness. He's saying, you don't have to choose between being great at football and being great for people. You can do both. And that message is going to stick, not just in Cleveland, not just in the NFL, but across all sports. Because let's be honest, young athletes today are watching. High school stars, college prospects, future draftees. They're taking notes. And if Shedeur's model takes hold, we could be looking at a future where athletes no longer feel the pressure to pick one lane, where you can win and give, where you can chase greatness on the field while building bridges off of it. And that might be Shedeur Sanders' biggest contribution yet. Not the touchdowns he throws, but the culture he creates. So as the season approaches and cameras inevitably turn back to Cleveland, expect the narrative to shift. From why did he skip the ESPYs, to why aren't more players like him? From is he too quiet to lead, to how is he doing all this with such grace? Because when the dust settles and the hype machines move on, what will remain is this: a young quarterback who chose presence over promotion, substance over spectacle, and in doing so, started building the kind of legacy that no award show could ever touch.